Alright, so we're back to NaNoWriMo and we're on day 4. It's Monday night, it's just after 10. We'll keep it a short night because it's after 10. I'm going to probably just write one scene. I want to remind you guys too, if you like if you like this series, go ahead and like and subscribe. Whether or not it continues will depend on whether or not people watch it. Right now, the first 3 videos are kind of low, so I'm not sure how much more I'm going to do. So I find that it's easier to write when I'm not talking, so it certainly would probably get more done without talking. But if you guys enjoy watching this, I'll keep doing it. But otherwise, we will probably cut this off either tonight or tomorrow. If you don't see any more after tonight, then I made an executive decision that I'm going to do the rest off camera. I will probably still do up through day 5 just because it's good. So anyway, so we're going to do 1,000 words tonight. That's our target. We're going to now. One thing I did on my other days is I changed the target range. You'll see that right here. I changed it to 500 because that was our original goal. So I'm going to do that tonight on day 4. Target's going to be 1,000, not 1,600. Okay. So it's preset to 1,667 because that's what you do on average to hit 50,000. But anyway, all right. So we ended with Jack going out and, whoops, hold on, sorry. There we go. All right, so yeah, we ended with Jack going out to beg for change. We're not going to actually write about that because I think we got enough about him trying to get money. So we need to get into the action. So tonight we're going to start with him trying to get into a room. And then I've been calling the room a hotel. We're going to call an inn from now on. I just remembered today that that's what you call hotels in the 17th or the 18th century. It's called an inn because, that's what Lord of the Rings and Hobbit and all that teach us. So, literature, you read it and you remember something. So anyway, there we go. Therefore, Jack returned to the ugly place. We'll call it the Ugly Place Inn. There we go. That'll be the official name. When he struck out with his begging, he struck out begging on the street. He had given it his best go using up. Actually, I think we are going to watch him beg. Get a little bit of his acting in here. I changed my mind. And the reason why I think I'm going to do the begging after all is because we get to see him as an actor. Alright. The streets of Willemstad. Did I start that the same way? I did. Okay, never mind. So we're not going to do that. We'll do back on the streets of Willemstad. Jack searched for the busiest, busiest corner with the richest looking people who were not yet drunk out of their minds. The corner near the marketplace was probably his best shot, as the people there were finalizing their sales. Let's see, their say the meals for the evening. And most of them had clear eyes and stable strides. I'm looking to head home. Let's see. He had hoped that they still had money left over and that they were feeling charitable to a desperate soul. See, in any case, he untucked his shirt and messed up his hair to look the part of a desperate soul. When he took position at the edge of the marketplace, he searched for the first person leaving and approached the man who was dressed in, let's see, breeches and puffy shirt. See, the man who was dressed in breeches and puffy shirt tried to zip past him, but Jack would not have it. "Excuse me, sir," he said with his shakiest voice possible. "Could you spare a cent for a gent?" The man looked at him with a blank expression. "Just a cent is all I need, sir," Jack said. He held his hand out and smiled. The man simply frowned. "I don't understand you," the man said. We'll say he's speaking French. Jack searched his memory for any connection to the man's language, but nothing came to mind. He had no idea what the man was saying, but he assumed it was some variant of "Ew, get away from me, you rat." "Thank you," Jack said. He thought it was better to show politeness toward people he couldn't understand than to curse them out, because he wouldn't want them cursing him out, even though this person probably was doing exactly that. Let's see. Have a good night, the man said in Francais. Jack frowned. It took all of his nerve not to... Let's see, Jack squeezed out a toothy smile. Took all of his nerve not to grimace at the man in his stinking insults. As the man walked away, another approached, trying to squeeze, or trying to fit through the narrow path between Jack and Freedom. Let's see, Jack wanting to take a different approach generated some tears on the fly. They didn't actually come out wet, but the new man didn't need to know that. I'm dying, Jack said. Please spare a guilder for a man on his way out. The new man shook his head. If you're dying, he said, then what do you need a guilder for? Just go die. There's a harbor nearby if you need to do so in private. No idea what that even means. Alright, that's probably going to get changed. Jack frowned. This time he understood what was said to him, and he really didn't like it. Compassion goes a long way, sir, he said. That's true, especially toward the living. Jack, bounced and how about raised his hand and bounced as if he were about to shout, "Ta-da!" Let's see. Jack raises his hands and bounces if he were about to shout, "Ta-da!" It's a miracle. I'm not dying anymore. The man nodded. Good. So you're a liar instead. I don't give money to liars, but good luck. The man scooted past him before Jack could counter with reason or sympathy. The next man who approached must have already watched what was going on here, because he wouldn't even make eye contact with Jack. Jack nevertheless tried to wave both arms at him to gain his attention. But rather than get anyone's attention, he merely swatted away a few mosquitoes. I don't know if they have mosquitoes in Carousel. We'll figure that out, I guess. Alrighty. After a few more unsuccessful attempts, he looked around to find out that he was alone in the market square. Just him and the stall owners who were closing up shop. He approached one owner as the man stuffed his fish into a barrel and sealed it. Could you spare a coin, kind sir? The just a kiosk owner looked back at him and shook his head. I'm not licensed for that, he said. The place to go begging around here is on is 2 streets to the north. You'll find better success up there. Jack thanked the man for his instruction and headed up 2 streets to the north, where he found nothing but farmland and a silent plantation. Defeated, he returned. Okay. Oops. To the other place in. And tried to haggle with the desk clerk. We can get you a free ticket to tomorrow's show if you just knock a guilder off my fee. The desk clerk did what they all had done tonight. He shook his head and frowned. I'm sorry, sir, but I don't watch the theater. I prefer to watch grass grow. Jack rested his arms on the counter and stared at the man. I think you're lying, he said. The man shrugged. What if I am? I'm still not going to knock a guilder off your fee. The room costs 5 guilders. If you don't have that, then you won't get the room. At any rate, good luck. Good luck? I don't have 5 guilders. Well, you can always sleep in the street. I know a good location for sleeping and a good location for outdoor sleeping. It's just 2 streets to the north of here. The plantation. The man smiled. Ah, you know the place. Good. The fields are quiet this time of night. The rabbits may or may not leave you alone. I wouldn't know. I have a bed to sleep in tonight, but good luck. Jack reached into his pocket and pulled all of his change out and spread it across the desk. Look, he said, I have most of it. Won't you just give me the room for this? The man glanced at the change, counted it with his eyes, then looked back at Jack with a dull expression. It appeared that he was no longer amused by this poverty-stricken actor who was bugging him worse than any gnat. Sir, he said, this is not a place for charity. You have the money, great. You can have the room, but you don't have the money, so you can't have the room. Sorry, but them's the rules. Like it or piss off. Jack scooped up his change, put it back in his pocket, then pissed off. But he didn't quite leave the inn. Instead, he walked toward the front entrance, made like he was going to walk through it, and then ducked behind a plant and waited for the front desk clerk to forget about him. Behind the plant and waited for the front desk clerk to forget about him. He waited at least half an hour. By the time he thought he was safe to exit, he rolled out from behind the plant and scurried toward the hallway before anyone could give him notice. "Sir," the desk clerk said, "are you all right?" Jack glanced toward the desk to see that the clerk was speaking directly at him. Apparently, he was not the best at stealth. "I'm fine." "Okay, you know you can't sleep behind the plant, right?" Jack nodded. "But of course." The desk clerk nodded and smiled. He went back to writing something on his parchment. Jack, meanwhile, dashed for the hallway. The desk clerk didn't seem to notice or care. Perhaps the ugly place inn had lower standards about visitors than it had about guests. When Jack got far enough down the hall, he started knocking on his castmates' respective doors. Most of them ignored him. Ernest answered, saw it was Jack, then closed the door in his face. Regina also answered, saw it was Jack, smiled at him. and asked him what he needed. I need a room to stay in, he said. Do you have a spot on your, let's see, do you have a spot in your bed I can borrow? Regina blushed, but she said no. What about your floor? Let's see. What this? Ernest must have heard this because he stuck his head out the moment the words left Jack's mouth. Oops. Regina blushed, but she said no. Ernest smirked and ducked back into his own room. What about your floor? Jack asked. Once again, Ernest stuck his head out the door. Regina must have noticed. Regina glanced in his direction. Noticed the look on his face and shook her head. Sorry, she said. My floor is dirty. Don't think it would be a good fit for you. Jack shrugged. Fine. He knocked on, let's see, Richard's door. Richard also denied him a spot on the floor. Jack hadn't bothered asking him for a spot in the bed. He was worried that Richard might take him up on his offer. So he moved to the next room, the one beside the room he should have gotten for himself. And knocked on the door. What's her name? Is it I think it is Mabel. Okay. Mabel, yes, I thought it was Mabel. Answered. She was dressed in her nightgown, which was airy but stretched all the way to the floor. Her hair was up in a bun, and her eyes were not yet filled with sleep. Yes, she said. May I spend the night with you? Jack asked. I could not secure my room. The innkeeper is a scoundrel. Mabel smiled. Don't think that would be appropriate, she said. Maybe ask Ernest if he can share. Jack shook his head. I'm already on the outs there, he said. That's okay. I just needed somewhere to sleep. Don't tell the British people, but I ran out of money at the gambling den, and now I'm short a guilder. Don't suppose you could spare one, could you? Mabel smiled at him. I'll see what I have. She ducked into the room and closed the door behind her. A moment later, she reappeared with a guilder in hand. Don't spend it all in one place, she said. Jack smiled and kissed her on the cheek. She recoiled, but she didn't frown. Jack didn't want to spend the time investigating her paradoxical reaction. He needed a room. He was getting sleepy. Okay. When he returned to the front desk, he dumped all of his coins back. He dumped all his coins in front of the innkeeper, tossed in the extra guilder, then slapped the counter. I want my room now, he said. The innkeeper smiled and handed him a key. Welcome to the ugly place inn, sir. Watch out for the drip. The what? When Jack unlocked his door and entered his room, he discovered what the innkeeper was talking about. The yeah, the ceiling, the thatch ceiling, or how about this? The ceiling was made of thatch, and it did not do the best job keeping out the water that spilled from the overhead aqueduct. I don't know. I'll have to figure that one out. Okay. There's probably better ways to handle that. No, that's actually really terrible. The ceiling was nearly concave from a pocket of water that it must have collected from the previous rainstorm. Droplets of water fell down in various spots around the room, including a spot over the pillow. Jack noticed that the innkeeper, or say the housekeeper, no, housemaiden, had left a stack of towels for him in case of emergency. When Jack went to bed that night, he had dreams that he was drowning. Good. Let's call it there. 1701 for tonight. I think that's fair. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I think I'll do one more tomorrow, and then I'm going to evaluate whether or not to keep going with the videos. I'm probably honestly going to stop at day 5 because I don't expect to get much more views, but that's okay, because honestly I just, I'm doing this so people have an opportunity to see what it's all about, working on NaNoWriMo. So if you all don't want to watch more, that's perfectly fine. I do encourage you to contribute to NaNoWriMo. There's still plenty of time to get started on it. If you watch my introductory video, you'll get a sense of how to actually participate, and then if you want to use my template here, you can always download it in the downloads that's in the link below. So I do encourage you guys to do that if you would like. 7236 words. Okay. So we'll go ahead and end here for now, and thanks for watching. See you tomorrow, hopefully. Good night. Bye.